Hi, welcome. Unscripted, the official Michigan State podcast of the Field of 68. Thought this would be an episode after a win, to be honest with you, Greg. I'm a little bit upset right now. I had everything prepared to kind of come in off a nice road win in Madison Square Garden, the mecca of just the basketball world in general. I was pretty excited for this game, but unfortunately, I'm coming at you once again with a somber mood. But first of all, Greg, how are we doing right now?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this team right now. I think there's some controversial opinions on Michigan State basketball right now. Like some people are kind of jumping off the bandwagon. Some people are like doing the just wait till March thing again. The truth is always in the middle, like I've said all season long. But man, if there's one thing that I took away from this past week, it's the rack was robbed. We really robbed home Rutgers fans from a nice game and their fun to play at stadium just to go to Madison Square Garden just for Michigan State to lose anyway. What are we doing? Like, come on. That was a bullet State dodged and they didn't make the most of it. So justice for the rack is where my head is at right now, man. They owe them one more game this season.
I agree, and I thought we dodged. I mean, you saying we dodged a bullet by not playing at the rack is an understatement in my eyes. That is the difference between playing in the rack and not playing in the rack against a Rutgers basketball team is something that a distance you can't even really describe. I don't really know what metaphor to use for it, but just know it's a really, really, really big difference. But
credit to Rutgers fans too, because through the television and from what I heard, apparently that sounded and felt like a Rutgers home game.
Oh, let's not get it twisted. It still was in Madison. It was at Madison Square Garden. It was a Rutgers home game.
But why wouldn't you think like just the fan bases of Michigan State basketball versus Rutgers basketball at a game at Madison Square Garden would not be a road game for Michigan State? Like that's confusing to me.
I mean, you know, like New Jersey and New York are right next to each other, right?
I didn't know there were Rutgers basketball fans like that though.
Oh,
Like
100%, bro. Like that's. I mean, Jersey basketball is Rutgers is pretty up there. I mean, I'm thinking off the top of my head. I don't want to disrespect any like the Jersey area, but I guess it's really Rutgers Seton Hall, unless I'm missing.
I know they're good this year too. Like that's no disrespect. And the rack is obviously a really hard place to play. But in my head, when I was told that game was at Madison Square Garden, I'm like, oh, there's going to be more Michigan State fans in the crowd. And apparently that wasn't the case. So I don't know.
Well, this is not summing up the Scarlet Knights, the official Rutgers podcast of Field 68. This is unscripted. So let's go ahead and get into the game here. And a lot of this episode, I feel like, is going to be focused on the actual Rutgers game. Because I think that we looked ahead a little bit we looked ahead a little too much in our last episode, talking about how the schedule is favorable, which it still is. But I really want to focus on this actual game at Rutgers and how it, kind of how it played out. For starters, it was, I don't really know what the word, let's just go with terrible. It was a terrible start by both basketball teams. I mean, by the first media timeout, which took forever to get there as well, it was, don't want to misquote it, but I think it was 7-4, I believe the score was. Both teams were combined like 2 for 10 from the field. There was, 1 for 9 for 3 from Michigan State on some pretty good looks. I thought guys like Hauser actually looked a little bit rattled, which is kind of surprising. I know one of the announcers mentioned it might be a depth perception issue, which is a real thing, by the way. For those who don't know, shooting in a stadium with a backdrop is definitely a lot harder. I know that from experience. But, I just thought everyone was kind of, off at the start of the game, and we were struggling. But with all that said, we went into halftime up 25-19. And after all that we went through in that first half with the shooting woes and execution woes, I was like, oh my God, we got the lead in this basketball game. I think we can kind of, hold this one and pull this one out. How are you feeling kind of going into halftime, or just your first half thoughts of that basketball game?
I definitely thought they could pull it out. They tricked me. You were sitting next to me in my living room, and I placed a live bet on Michigan State to win the game. And I think it was a 10-2 run from Rutgers immediately. Again, my curse of not knowing what's going to happen with this Michigan State team continues. I think we mentioned it last episode. There's only one game all year I've been on the right side of betting Michigan State or betting against them, and that was at Purdue. the weekend before, which I can't even give myself credit for. Like that was just a Purdue home game. Like, I don't know. I feel like everybody kind of should have expected Purdue to be that good. But this one was there for the taking, and that's what makes it sting a little bit. I think I said to you at one point, like, this was obviously an ugly basketball game, but more than anything, I thought this was a Rutgers basketball game. Like, when you talk about how bad the offenses were and how bad some of the possessions were, like, that's Rutgers' brand of basketball. They're the 15th best team in the country, according to KenPom. They are the second best defense in the country. Like, this is a Tony Bennett, Virginia level defense that Rutgers has this year. And then their offense is 120th in the country. They are a really bad offensive basketball team. So for the game to play out the way it did, where it's a total rock fight, both teams are struggling so much in the half court. Like, to me, that, if anything, could it be a little surprising that Michigan State played into that a little bit? Maybe, but more than anything, that was just like Rutgers was doing what Rutgers does, and Michigan State had to try to find a way to grind it out. And ultimately they didn't make enough plays down the stretch. The Joey stuff bad or early was bad. I mean, he just missed a bunch of open looks, and that kind of set the tone. Like, if your most reliable shooting option has 4 wide open shots and he misses all of them, and honestly, they were pretty bad misses. Like, Joey Hauser doesn't normally miss shots off the side of the rim, and he was missing these ones off the side of the rim. So I thought that set a bad tone. I thought he also started hesitating a little bit. He found it in the second half, but I thought after he had missed those 4 in a row early, he passed up a couple that I thought were pretty good looks. And you can't pass up good looks against Rutgers, because if you give them seconds to recover in the half court possession, they will recover, and you won't get a better look than the first open shot you get. So I don't know. I think a good amount of this is let's give credit to Rutgers, because I think Rutgers is the second best team in this conference. I think there's separation there. I think it's Purdue, then it's a step down, then it's Rutgers, then it's a step down, then it's everybody else. And it was a big opportunity for Michigan State because of that to go 2-0 against Rutgers this year. That win at home against Rutgers was a great win. And they were down early in that game, if I remember that correctly. Rutgers is a good basketball team. They let it slip. Not enough guys could score. And it's frustrating. It would sadden me as a Michigan State fan to feel like it was there for the taking. But at the end of the day, to me, it's more about Rutgers is probably a better basketball team than Michigan State. And I thought Rutgers just played better.
Yeah, I'll push back a little bit on that, because, I don't like taking away from teams' defenses when obviously the stats match up to it. They held Michigan State to bad percentages, low points in the first half. All the stats, all the statistics back up why this Rutgers team is great. And they are a great defensive team, do not get me wrong. But I don't think necessarily Michigan State did their part as far as trying to do what's best to actually score against this Rutgers defense. I don't think that there was way too many possessions that ended with Malik Hall has the ball in his hands and he's taking an awful shot off an ISO. Or I specifically remember one possession where he couldn't get loose on the wing as well, threw it into Jackson Kohler with a second left, ended up getting a shot clock violation. Everything just seemed out of sorts. Whether it was Joey shooting, Malik Hall trying to get his, everyone just seemed kind of out of sort. Now that I say that, you're probably got to give credit to Rutgers defense for getting them out of sort. But it just also seemed like Michigan State kind of had themselves in somewhat of shambles with, the half court offense and execution. And then we try to do things such as ball screens, and we're having turnover issues that are rearing their ugly head once again. And to be honest, I thought a lot of them were more so careless, as opposed to Rutgers just applying some serious shutdown on ball defense or something like that to force turnovers. But
the other thing, how crazy is this? I'm looking back at the first Rutgers game, Cart. Shooting can solve so much of this. In the first game against Rutgers, Joey Hauser was 3 for 4 from 3. Jaden Akins was 3 for 6 from 3. AJ Hogard was 3 for 5 from 3. Tyson Walker was 3 for 5 from 3. Every single guy in the rotation in the first game hit 3 threes and made 50% of their shots from behind the arc. And they win that game by 13 points, I think. They shot 19% from 3 in this game and lost by 6 points. And Joey missed a lot of open ones. Some other guys missed some open ones. So as much as we want to sit here and be the Rutgers defense got them out of sorts, which they did. Give them credit. Like, shooting could have solved a lot of this. And like you said, the depth perception looked like it was a thing. Guys just missed some shots. And, the gap between Michigan State and Rutgers is clearly not that large, even though I say Rutgers is the second best team in the conference. To me, the reason they're the second best team in the conference is because they are more consistent than other teams. And I would put Michigan State in that group of inconsistent teams. Like, this is now, I don't know how much big picture you want to do, but like, Michigan State's lost 5 of their last 7 games. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games against teams in the top 25 on KenPom. Like, we've seen Michigan State be very good for that stretch in December, January. They did not play a team ranked better than Penn State in that winning streak where they won 7 straight games. So I don't know. Like, to me, Michigan State, when they play great, can be a very good team. I don't think they play great consistently enough to really make noise either in the Big Ten or potentially in March at this point. And to me, that is the difference. Like, Rutgers, even in their losses, to me, Rutgers is pretty damn competitive. Like, they don't really lay eggs going all the way back to the beginning of the conference season. Like, they showed up at Purdue. They won at Northwestern. I thought, Michigan State kind of just took control of the game from them at Breslin, and you give Michigan State credit for that. But I haven't really seen a game where Rutgers is like, man, they put up a stinker of a performance. And you can't say that about many teams in this league.
Yeah, and I think here's the difference for me when I'm looking at Rutgers and Michigan State. And I remember saying this to you when we were watching the game together, that Rutgers can play that ugly type of style of basketball, and they find a way to win that basketball game. I yet personally have seen the game this year where Michigan State's kind of had like that awful offensive performance, but they find a way to win a basketball game. I'm probably missing 1 or 2 games, but nothing that really comes to mind where it's like this team just, yeah, we shot awful. Yeah, we played awful offensively, but we found a way to win the basketball game. Maybe Michigan game, but then again, guys like AJ Hogarth played pretty well in that game, and Tyson Walker was able to step up as well. But yeah, it's the difference with me is that Rutgers is able to kind of they're able to, like you said, they're in every single game and they pull games out, and they are a good basketball team. I hate sometimes saying that like this Rutgers team is just so defensively great and so offensively shitty that it kind of diminishes what they do. And like, they're actually a good basketball team with a bunch of guys who are old as hell too, by the way. Like, I don't think they have anyone in their rotation who's younger than a junior. And they got some grad students, and Mulcahy's probably like 25, and McConnell's like 23. So and they all play extremely hard for Coach Peichel. So it's a tough task, tough team to beat. I mean, they went into Mackey this year and got a win, despite it being winter break. Like, going into Mackey and getting a win, you're able to win anywhere in the Big Ten in that case, in my eyes. So it's just a tough offensive shooting game, and it's getting, the only thing that's wearing on me is I'm not a Michigan State like jump off like this is the end of the world type thing, but the fact of the matter is that we haven't been able to string some things together. It's been like flip-flopping, like win, loss in this case. Like, it's just we haven't really been able to find some consistency, and I was hoping that this game would be the springboard into some consistency. Like, we had this game, we got Maryland Tuesday. I thought we were gonna kind of build some things, and we came out and lost this game. So I'm interested to see kind of what the mindset is going to be with this Michigan State team coming into the rest of these games, because it's starting to get late into that Big Ten season, and we're not as comfortable. We aren't feeling as comfortable as we should be at this point. Is where I'm coming from right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I don't know. It's kind of a scary proposition because I'm glad you sort of auto-corrected yourself mid-sentence there. To me, it hasn't really been like win-loss, good performance, bad. Like, I think Michigan State's really kind of struggled since we were at that Illinois game. Like, I thought that, and you could tell going into that game, even when they had the big lead early in that game, like, that team was a confident team that had been firing on all cylinders and, fully expected to win that game and played deservingly of winning that game. Then all of a sudden Matthew Meyer starts pouring in those threes, and you just saw it sort of crumble. And ever since that game, I don't know that I would say this team's been the same. I don't want to say that's like a season shifting thing. If you want to just point to the schedule got really tough. I mean, they've played the easiest game they've played was Iowa at home. since that game at Illinois, and that's a tough game. But to me, they had another really good performance at home against Purdue, could have won that game, didn't. And then they've had some stinkers since. Like at Purdue was not a good showing for Michigan State. The neutral site against Rutgers was not a good showing for Michigan State. At Indiana was not a good showing. It's a couple home wins sprinkled in there, but like for the most part, this has been a switch from the team we saw in December and January to the team we saw the second half of January and now into early February. Like it feels different. And the truth to me with this team is there's not a lot of margin for error. We've known that. Like you have to have great performances from your top 4 guys. And if even one, maybe 2 of those guys has an off night, this team's not going to win games against top 50 opponents that play pretty good. Like you either got to force the other team to really struggle offensively if that's going to be what happens, or you need somebody from the bench to step up. But right now there's nobody from the bench that's going to step up. So it all falls on the shoulders of Hogard, Walker, Hall, and Hauser. And, in this game, I thought everybody but Walker was pretty bad. And you're just not going to win many games like that when you only get one guy who's on their A game. But stepping back from a broader perspective, how worried would you be about this? Because to me, you can draw a pretty clear line with this team right now. Like, what games will they win? What games will they lose? They are 1-7 against top 30 opponents this year. Like when they've played a top 30 team,
top 30 opponents, according to what analytics?
According to your enemy, KenPom. According to your enemy, KenPom. But like, so I have beef with KenPom too, because like Ohio State's still 35th and they've lost 100 straight games. That's crazy. But the truth is, even if we want to joke about it, even if you're not joking about it, like looking at KenPom stuff is usually a pretty good way to tell what teams will either do good in March or have a chance to win a national title or just how good the overall season was. It's a pretty good metric for doing that. So like go back to the start of this season. The only win Michigan State has against a top 30 team in KenPom is the home win against Rutgers, which we said was a great win. But like you lost to Gonzaga, you lost to Alabama, you've lost the 5 in the last 7 games that I've said in the Big Ten. And then a lot of those wins we gave them a lot of credit for early, Cart, have not aged well. Like Villanova's horrible. Kentucky and Oregon are not what we had kind of hoped or thought they might have been when we won those games. And then that stretch in December and January, like, I mean, you beat Michigan in a really ugly rock fight. Michigan's not good. You won at Wisconsin. Kohl Center's always a tough place to play. Wisconsin's horrible right now. I think they've lost 8 of their last 10. So like, and Penn State, I said that was a great win. Penn State's not going to make the tournament. They just lost at Nebraska. So I guess in my head now I'm sort of stepping back and reframing this of like, man, we gave Michigan State a lot of credit for that win streak and surviving the non-conference. And we really thought, oh, this team was turning a corner and going to be different than the last couple of years. And now I'm stepping back and I'm just realizing like they haven't beaten a good team this year other than Rutgers.
But to bounce back, so push back on that, we gave them credit for what they did at the time.
Right. But now let's reevaluate now is the point. Like it feels like maybe the conversation right now should not be like, oh man, Michigan State's not performing how we think they can. Maybe the conversation is just like, oh yeah, this team actually isn't that talented and they're going to lose to the good teams they play. Like that was the story the last 2 seasons with this same core. So why exactly did we think things were different? Is sort of where my head has spun to now. Because like they got worse at center from last year's team. They got less depth than they had from last year's team. And the top 4 guys, Walker and Hauser are way better than they were last year. I thought AJ turned a corner, but in the last month, he's the AJ from last year. And Malik Hall, I don't know if he's healthy or not, but Malik Hall is sort of just who Malik Hall has been to me. So like, I guess how concerned are you with that concept? Like, are they just going to lose to the good teams they play? Because to me, that's what they've done the whole season at this point.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that question that you asked me is a little bit different. So I'll answer this. I'll answer the first part. Like, does Michigan State's like inconsistency scare me? Is that what you're trying to say? Or
but I don't think it's I think they've been remarkably consistent is where I'm at. They lose to the good teams they play because they are not that talented. And then they beat the teams that are not good that they play because they have a great coach and some vets.
Yeah, I'll bounce back on that because I think that we have seen how this Michigan State team can look. Now, yes, you point to guys who have inconsistencies, but I think we have seen some games this year, whether it come in wins or losses, where we have seen, our big four step up and play to their level. Like, I think we've seen games where we have Hauser games and Walker and Hogard playing what he hasn't been playing these past couple games. I don't know. He's been struggling as of late. There are some quotes, honestly, on the last after the game. I believe that Coach Izzo said that he needed to give AJ a couple more breaks because he might be tired. Then AJ said he's not tired, which isn't that big of a deal because that's what every player says. No player's going to admit they're tired, even if they are. That's just is what it is. So I had to get ahead of that quote before you used it against me.
It's the trust. We talked about this last week. It's the Izzo Hogard trust that you say is there, that I say is not there.
Yeah, and I'm right and you're wrong. But to answer your question, yeah, based on the play right now and how players are playing, it's looking like we're gonna, beat teams that are bad and lose the teams that are good.
Which makes this week really interesting, by the way, because now, like, I think home away splits have something to do with that too. Like, and I drew the cutoff in my number there at 30. Like a home win against Iowa, who's the 32nd best team on KenPom, that's a good win. Like a neutral site win against Kentucky, who's 33rd, that's a good win. But neither of those teams, Kentucky and Iowa, are not elite teams. They're not who they've been the last couple of years when you think Kentucky and Iowa. So nobody is an elite team, right? But I guess just looking forward to this week, you would love to say this could be a 2-0 week. Home against Maryland, 23rd best team in the country, flipping from KenPom to your boy Torvik Cart. If you go back to when Michigan State's losing streak started, Maryland's been playing like the 12th best team in the country, according to Torvik.
I told you, they look good.
They've looked really good.
They're young.
When they win games, they blow teams out too. Like that's part of they have been really, really good lately. So like a home game against Maryland to me, all of a sudden, with the way both teams have been trending, is not a gimme. And then you're on the road to Ohio State, who's lost to everybody with a pulse that they've played, but that's still a team that's ranked ahead of you according to the metrics. So, and it's a road game.
That team blew out Iowa at home before their pulse went gone.
Right. So I don't know, man. I think this is of all weeks this season, this is the most pivotal week because you're not facing a Purdue. You would love to say you should win the game at home against Maryland. And then you get a team that's lost 9 of their last 10 games in Ohio State that is easily a potential win. But I have a hard time, honestly, looking at both those games and feeling confident that Michigan State's going to win either of them right now, given the way they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that gives me solace is that it is at the Breslin. That does make a difference, I think, especially in this Big Ten conference, the way it's shaking out. It's like every team is just kind of just there after Purdue in my eyes. I don't even put Rutgers in that second category personally. So, playing at home is going to be huge for us, but I mean, Maryland's no slouch. I mean, earlier in the year, we were making generational wealth betting against Kevin Willard and Maryland. And now they turned this corner where Jameer Young's been one of the best two-way players in the Big Ten, best guards just in general. Dante Scott is, to be honest, like everything Dante Scott is what I wish Malik Hall was right now. And that might just be because of injuries, but that is what it is. And Akeem Hart's emerged himself with this team. And then Reese is a pretty good player down low as well. So, yeah, I'm definitely not confident going into this Maryland game, to be honest with you, because you just got to look at it like this. One team is playing really well and one team's not playing well. So, in my eyes, give me the team that's playing well, even though the team that's not playing well is getting back at home. I don't know if it really makes that much of a difference just to keep it a buck. So, I don't know. I think we'll find out something about this team, but back to the whole margin for error thing, like we need our backcourt, both of them, not one or the other. We need both of them to step up to give this team the best chance to win, and that goes for them scoring and also them doing things for others on this team to put them in the best position to be great. So, I think that there has to be some self-reflection on just Tyson looking at AJ and AJ looking at Tyson and being like, look, we gotta make this thing go. We gotta be the guards of this team, and we gotta we got to play our best basketball. Us playing bad basketball is not going to get it done. They cannot get by playing bad basketball. So, maybe they get it together in this game. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Hoggard conversation, right? Like, I think when Tyson has a poor game, it's hard for you guys because I think he is just so capable of carrying the scoring burden for this team that, like, if he's not giving you 15 a night, you're just kind of like, damn, that's out there for the taking, and he didn't get there. But I don't think when Tyson,
I wish he would have done the last game, to be honest.
right, and I don't think that Tyson. I would just flip it this. I don't think when Tyson has a poor game or a poor shooting game, or even like a tentative shooting game where he's shooting less, I don't think that necessarily immediately leads to a loss. Whereas when AJ has a bad game, I think that directly leads to a loss for Michigan's. Like, his bad games are loud bad games. And again, to his credit, he had been.
That's not all because of him, though.
We can jump through the hoops if you want to jump through the hoops, man. We can.
No, it's not jumping.
Blame other guys for AJ.
I'm not blaming anybody else. All I'm saying is that when he does have those bad games, he's talking about loudness. Your megaphone's always charged.
Listen, in 2 of the last 3 games, here's his line against Rutgers: 8 points, 2 assists, 5 turnovers. 0 for 4 from 3, by the way. I don't know why he's shooting so many threes still. 7 points, 1 assist, and 3 turnovers against Iowa. I mean, this is why I've been so loudly critical of AJ Hoggard, is because in his whole career until this season, the guy can't go 3 games in a row without a line like that, where he has.
That's wrong. He literally has done that this year, going 3.
That's I just said until this year.
Oh, my apologies.
Come on, that's who he's been his whole career. And the point is, like, oh, coincidentally, Michigan State's lost 5 of 7, and now AJ Hoggard's playing like that again. Again, in AJ Hoggard's Michigan State career, they finished 9th in the conference his freshman year, 8th in the conference his sophomore year. They're currently in solo 9th place in the Big Ten this year, in a shitty Big Ten. And AJ Hoggard's magically putting up stinkers. Like, you're right. If AJ Hoggard is consistently great, then this team's probably pretty good. If AJ Hoggard sprinkles these games, then they finish 9th.
I'll take consistently good.
So will I, but the problem is, that's not happening right now. So, you need the guy to be someone he hasn't been his whole career leading up to this season in order for this team to jump out of the 9th place in the Big Ten that they currently reside in. So if you can look the camera in the eyes and say you're confident these stinkers will just magically disappear, then yeah, I like your chances. But
I'm not. Brother, I'm not.
But that's just on AJ, though. Like, who else is that on when you're talking like it's not all his fault? Who's it on?
I'm not saying I think it is on AJ. I think AJ knows it's on AJ.
His body language stinks right now, by the way. Like,
yeah,
it stinks.
Yeah, I don't have any arguments for it. I mean, it's just like I said, he needs to play better, and he has the ability to, and he has not in this past couple of games. And I will say this, to your credit or to your point about it being loud, it is a lot louder when AJ has stinkers, because his stinkers come with bad body language and critical errors, like turnovers that are not just turnovers, like live ball turnovers that are mishaps on like alley-oops or something like that. And it's tough. And then to the Rutgers game, not only was he had the turnover in the second half, Paul Mulcahy took his lunch in the second half. Like
that's your boy too. You had to have some split feelings there. That's your boy.
That was the Mulcahy show. 15 points all in the second, I think 15, 16 points all in the second half.
He was killing Malik Hall too, by the way. It wasn't just AJ, it was both of them.
It was honestly the team collectively getting killed. But yeah, it was tough. There was really not many positives to take away from that basketball game in my eyes. It was pretty shitty. Even the small ball wasn't working because Malik Hall was struggling, and so was Joey. So it's like
that was like the worst Malik Hall game I recall ever seeing in a Michigan State uniform.
That was bad. That was really
weird.
Bad.
It was really weird. He was like pressing. Like he's normally so smooth and within the flow, and it felt like he was trying to hero ball them out of this, and that's not his game. It was
And
weird.
I've never seen him do that either. So that's all. It was just so odd to me. The game.
Uncharacteristic. Yeah. Very strange. All right. To wrap the AJ thing, I got one more question for you, and then you can go back to wherever you want to go next. What do you believe the ceiling is for an AJ Hoggard 30 minutes a game team? Can a AJ Hoggard playing 31 minutes as your point guard, night in, night out, can they make a Final Four?
I'm putting this on because I'm sick about talking about AJ.
I want your answer, and then I'll never bring it up again. Because here's where I'm going with this. We're a year away from what we think is the class that's going to come in and revive Michigan State basketball, right? We're a year away from Jeremy Fears, who I have been on record. I don't know if people have heard me say this. I think the kid is special. I think from day one, you're going to feel like you have a Cassius Winston level guy. And that's crazy high praise. I'm not saying he's going to be Big Ten Player of the Year as a freshman, but I'm saying when I watch his tape, like it brings back shades of Trey Burke to me. The kid is special. And I think the other guys are great complementary guys. Cohen Carr is going to be a rotation player immediately. So is Normand. I don't know how good Xavier Booker is going to be. I know he's going to be the most talented player in this front court immediately. So all that said, Izzo's finally going to have pieces to work with again. He's going to be able to tinker and bench guys and not have to beg true freshmen to play minutes that aren't ready. Like, that's exciting to me as someone who watches Michigan State basketball. With that said, you know how I feel about AJ Hoggard. I just don't think the guy is good enough consistently enough to be a big part of a winning basketball team. I think that's been proven his entire career here. And as his role gets bigger, it's not leading to better things for Michigan State, except for the 1 month where he was great. That was great. Coincidentally, they didn't lose.
But you yourself just stated that talent-wise, this team, yes, it is because AJ Hoggard is a part of this team, but also we put AJ Hoggard in a 30-minute a game role. Are we looking like next year, 30 minutes a game?
Well, that's my question.
Because I'm saying I think that yes, AJ would be more consistent and better having better talent around him. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So my fear, obviously the team will be slightly better, but like my fear is AJ, it's going to be the AJ Hoggard show next year. And you've got Jeremy Fears, who I think is special, that's going to come in and play 12, 15 minutes a game while AJ gets his 31. He's the guy. And I have doubts that if AJ Hoggard's the guy, how good is your team? If AJ Hoggard is one of your guys,
you want to know the good part about that?
Is Tom Izzo gets to figure it out?
In-season adjustments. If it doesn't work out, then we switch it up.
I don't know. People really turned on Tum Tum when he was blocking Cash a little bit. Like, I would be very ready if I'm a Michigan State fan for, no offense, but the Hoggard Hall era. Those guys don't need to be the best players on my team anymore. If they want to be the 5th, 6th best guys, okay. They got roles. But like, if next year's supposed to be Hoggard and Hall's show with these little freshmen coming, like, it missed me with that, man. These guys, their whole careers, they're fine role players. When they got to do more than that, it's not a good thing.
Yeah. I feel like there's a bigger gap between you're saying like, yeah, those guys are like role players who can't be like higher than role players. I'm not saying they got to be star players, but I don't know. I feel like there's something in the middle of role player and like.
I mean, this is what you're going on. This is going to be the 3rd consecutive year you don't have. Well, I guess 2nd. You had Aaron Henry 3 years ago, but I'm going to say 3rd consecutive year you don't have an All Big Ten player. 3rd consecutive year you're middle of the pack. Gabe
Brown's All Big Ten.
1st team, 2nd team. What was Gabe Brown?
I think he was 2nd team.
No way. I'm fact checking that. I think he was honorable mention. Which you'll get multiple this year. Joey's going to be that. Tyson will be that. Coincidentally, Hoggard and Hall probably won't be that. I said to you in my living room, like, if you're telling me next year Tyson and Joey were back, I like that a lot more than I like Hoggard and Hall back.
What about all 4 of them?
That'd be. I don't want that either. I want that, man. I don't know. Like, am I just way off on that though? Am I way off? Am I being biased because I don't like AJ?
Yeah, I think you are a little bit.
Okay.
I think he was.
You're right. He was all Big Ten third team. I didn't even know they did third teams.
Yes, sir.
Shout out Gabe. Good work.
Respect me.
Shout out Gabe.
But yeah, no, I do think you're being a little bit yeah tough on that one. I think a player like AJ could thrive with more talent around him.
I just wouldn't want to risk my potentially great season around AJ Hogard learning to thrive. I'd rather.
But like I said, we got to see how that looks.
You're right. You're right.
But what we're not gonna do is at this point send the season, Gregory. We got some games coming up. Just want to touch on it really quickly because I think if I look at the schedule correctly here, we'll probably get another episode in after these two games. So like maybe the end of this week. But the Maryland game is going to be tough. It's definitely one we shouldn't overlook. Yes, it's at home, but like we stated, this is a Maryland team who I actually think is playing really good basketball right now. So, and part of that is that it's funny. Maryland has little bit of little margin for error with their team, but their main guys are playing extremely well right now, and they're playing well in big games, and it's giving them a chance to win. Like they're getting contributions from Young, Hart, and Scott every single game, sprinkling a little Julian Reese there as well. So they're kind of rolling with their main guys, and they're playing their style of basketball, and they got like a bunch of tweeners out there, really. One good positive is we really don't have to worry about like that 6'11" post presence putting up prime Tim Duncan against middle schooler numbers against us. Julian Reese is like a 6'9", 6'10" maybe post player, but he's not that dominant inside force. He is a good player, but he's not that, Trace Jackson Davis level player.
Hey, don't disrespect Caleb Swanton Roger. Okay. 6'11", true freshman who posterized Hunter Dickinson in Michigan Maryland game.
Is that the guy with the goggles? Is that the guy with the goggles?
That's the guy with the goggles, man. Then listen, if you
sneaky bounce.
I'm just gonna say, like, if we're acting like, oh, we don't got to worry about a Maryland center, you just wait until I get some Carson Cooper on Caleb Swanton Roger minutes, okay?
The fact that we'll be subjected to watching that, excuse me, come on now. We'll be subjected to watching that in 2023 is not good vibes, but
not ideal.
I'll wrap this episode up with where I'm at as far as Michigan State basketball on 1 to 10. 1 to 10 on like how I'm feeling, what's my mood. Of course, 5 is like the whatever. I'm a 4 right now.
Huh.
I'm a 4. I'm not a man. I'm a 4. I'm down. I'm down right now. I'm not in a dire state, but we're losing a lot of basketball games right now. Like we're damn near on a loop. This is, if it wasn't for that Iowa game and honestly Peyton Sanford smoking a wide open tray, we would be in the danger zone right now, like big time danger zone. So yeah, I'm not feeling good right now. I'm not feeling or good. Don't know if the Maryland game is honestly going to swing me one way or the other. I might go one up after that, but I need us to string together something. Anything, even if it's against bad teams, like string something together.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, a 2-0 week would be a blessing. That's certainly possible. I think a 1-1 week's probably fine. It doesn't change the way you feel about this team at this point. And then the next week's a big opportunity. You got Minnesota at home. That's got to be a win. And then you're on the road to your rival with a chance to sweep Michigan and potentially, depending on where their next couple games go, potentially keep them out of the tournament. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that's fine. Like being a 4, I think that's fine. I'm surprised you're I thought you were going to spin that and say you're a little higher, actually. Like you're optimistic, which I would have respected, but 4 is fine. I don't think that's danger zone. I think that's a measured take. Good job. I would just add to the conversation that in AJ Hogard's career, Michigan State is 26-26 in Big Ten play.
Do you just have these do you have a board behind you or something with AJ Hogard's career stats? Like how many AJ Hogard tabs do you have open right now?
0. In this era, Michigan State is a 500 basketball team in Big Ten play. So it's time for a new era, but unfortunately, this era isn't going to end before the end of this season. So if you want to know how this team's going to do down the stretch, I would advise you to consider that they're probably just going to win half their games and lose half their games. And conveniently, to my point earlier, Cart, you have a lot of games left against teams that aren't in the top 30 in the country. Like, you can beat Minnesota at home. You can either beat Ohio State or Michigan, one of those two on the road. You'll beat Nebraska at Nebraska. You'll beat Ohio State at home. There's 4 wins in the final 8 games of the season right there. And if history holds, maybe you lose the ones that aren't the 4 that I just mentioned, and we figure it out from there.
I'm sick of this.
I don't love it, but like, I mean, how are we going to sit here and say that's not what's going to happen? Like,
no, it's just not fun.
It's not fun. Next year's going to be really fun.
It better.
If the keys aren't entirely dependent on AJ Hogarth.
But
if it is, it might be tough.
But at the end of the day, the light at the shining tunnel of this season is that the country stinks, folks. So yeah, we're gonna have a chance.
There's still a very good chance this team makes a run in March.
Make it there, and we'll see what happens because the country stinks.
I haven't said them, but I feel obligated to ask it as we wrap the show. I haven't said these concerns, but I've seen them, Cart. Is it bubble watch for Michigan State yet?
It's not bubble watch. It's bubble awareness.
Like, would a 1-1 week this week, you're still feeling like comfortably in, or like does 1-1 this week inch you closer to, oh, maybe we're not comfortably in?
1-1, I think we're comfortably in, thanks to Kenny Pom-Pom's over saturation of Ohio State basketball.
Oh, so you're insinuating with a win against Ohio State?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
It might, because if I had to say likelihood, if it's a 1-1 split, I think you'd beat Maryland, lose to Ohio State, is where my head is at.
And I think we'd be fine. I don't think if we do that, if that happens, I don't think it's like oh shit, we're in trouble.
Okay. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I think it's closer than even I think. Like, people have asked me, like, is Michigan State, should they be worried about tournament hopes? I've always said no. Like, this team will find a way to get in. They're fine. But I think, like, I mean, they got 9 losses right now. 4-4 down the stretch, which is what I project, is also what Ken Pom projects. Like, it's 18-13 going into the Big Ten tournament. That's a bubble record. And like,
that's a bubble record. That's a bubble record, and also a scar on your prediction because you said we won 15 games.
You're right. Hey, again, got some. That non-conference schedule was a lot different than we thought.
Boom, score 1 for Carter. But I just want to end. I want to end with that win. I'm gonna cut it off right now because I can do that.
I want to end with this.
Who's the host?
So Michigan State's not on the bubble at all. They're safe. Michigan's not even in the bubble, right? That's where we're at.
Do I look like Stu Douglas to you?
No, but I want to know. Is Michigan's not even close to the bubble, but Michigan State's safely in? That's where we're at?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I just want to get that. I mean, there's a 1.5 game, actually not even a 1.5. There's a 1 game difference in their overall records. Michigan State is 1 game ahead of where Michigan is, and Michigan State's safely in, and Michigan is not even close. And Michigan is a game up in the Big Ten standings, but okay. All right. I just think it's getting closer. It's getting a little.
It's getting closer.
Getting a little closer.
There's a gap though, but it's getting closer.
Yeah.
For Carter Elliott, the main voice and the voice of reason sometimes on the Unscripted podcast.
The AJ Hogarth to my Tyson Walker.
I'll break that down in the next episode we have because I don't even want to comment on that right now. That's another episode of Unscripted. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment. And, if you want to say mean things, go ahead and say mean things. It needs to be said. Make the world mean again. Unscripted out.